and welcome to Levant TV Headlines. The United Nations says the number of refugees from the conflict in Syria now tops 3 million, with 6.5 million people displaced within the country. US President Barack Obama has admitted that he still does not have a strategy to fight Islamic State jihadists in Syria, as the militants boasted they had executed scores of Syrian troops. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has slammed brutal killings of civilians by Islamic State jihadists in northern Iraq, saying the radical group was tearing apart whole communities. Turkish Prime Minister Ahmet Davutoglu has announced his new government after Recep Tayyip Erdogan took the presidency, with former Europe Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu promoted to Foreign Minister. And Russia's Energy Minister Alexander Novak has warned of high risks of disruptions to supplies of Russian gas to Europe as international tensions over Ukraine mount. And now let's take a look at the top headlines from today's papers in the Middle East. Starting in Saudi Arabia, the Arab News reports that around 621,000 Saudi nationals have been found eligible to receiving housing aid under a new scheme designed to ease a shortage of homes in the kingdom. The paper also reports that in a major diplomatic move to strengthen GCC ties, a Saudi delegation led by Foreign Minister Prince Saud Al Faisal held talks with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and discussed ways of strengthening the deep-rooted bilateral cooperation in different sectors. From UAE, the Khalij Times reports that ISIS militants executed scores of Syrian soldiers captured when the militants seized an airbase in the province of Raqqa at the weekend. The paper also reports that Pakistani police have registered allegations of abetting murder against Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and his brother over the June killing of 14 supporters of a cleric who is currently leading thousands of anti-government demonstrators in Islamabad. From Lebanon, the Daily Star reports that Interior Minister Nuhad Mashnouk has warned that the situation in Arsal is a ticking time bomb and Lebanon's political forces must reach a consensus to defuse it. The paper also reports that Michel Sleiman is working to establish a new front in support of Lebanon's disassociation policy from regional conflicts, an issue the former president championed while in office, leading to the Babda Declaration. The Egypt Independent reports that Prime Minister Ibrahim Mehleb said President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi ordered the development of downtown Cairo as an area of heritage, adding that all the vendors that had occupied the streets have now been removed. The paper also reports that stock index rose sharply yesterday, backed by the purchases of Egyptian investors. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines from the UK papers. The Independent leads its Middle East news, reporting that ISIS has released a video apparently showing the beheading of a Kurdish man in Iraq as a warning to Kurds fighting the group in the country. The paper says the video, entitled "A Message in Blood," shows a group of captured men, believed to be Kurdish fighters, in orange jumpsuits sat in front of an ISIS flag. The Guardian leads its Middle East news, reporting that the United Nations has said that more than 3 million Syrians have fled the civil war ravaging their country to become refugees, 1 million of them alone in the past year. The paper adds that less than a year ago, the number of registered Syrian refugees stood at 2 million, UNHCR said, pointing to the report's increasingly horrifying conditions inside the country to explain the surge. And the Telegraph reports that the terrorist group Al-Qaeda has published a manual in which it encourages followers to bomb British targets, including Sandhurst, the MI5 headquarters, and local Marks & Spencer department stores. The paper says the media arm of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula this week published a 9-page how-to guide in its English language magazine on making car bombs and suggests terror targets in the UK and the US. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East headlines in international papers. From China, the Global Times reports that a United Nations spokesman said about 233,000 displaced people had left the United Nations Relief and Works Agency shelters in the Gaza Strip as of Wednesday afternoon, while about 54,000 people remained in 78 shelters. finally, Germany's Deutsche Welle reports that the London-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights has said that Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front was one of the groups responsible for abducting the peacekeepers in Syria's Golan Heights, adding that the fate of the 43 workers was still unknown. And for more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow. Bye for now.